This is a another segment that we want to bring to you this afternoon. We did a part one. It was entitled "Advice to the Youth" on why, just kind of giving a explanation of some of the things that were going on in this particular time, and that's what we call it. So this, inshallah, this is part two to the youth about the time and things that are going on. This is part two. Inshallah, we'll try to place this and put this in as many places as we can, and we pray that the young people will be able to maybe catch this. Maybe someone can see it and pass it on to the youth and pass it on to the young people. But let me just start with this segment and say that it's important that we need to, as family members, as parents, grandparents, community, whatever, it's important that we explain to the youth and tell our young people about the things that are going on. Because oftentimes young people may ask the question, well, the question may be, why did this happen to me? Why me? Well, Allah knows why, and the do's and don'ts. Some of the things we can't answer, some of the things we don't know and don't have an answer for. But what we do need to explain to our young people is about the things that has happened in the past. It's extremely important. This is why history is important, that we need to explain these things to young people and to our youth. Because they may ask themselves, well, why would someone call me the N-word? Why would someone call me out of my name? Why would someone want to jump on me? Why would someone want to beat me up, shoot me, run over me? Whatever, any of those things. And the message that we have to relate to our youth is, and to our young people, that these kind of things happened in the past. And the fact that these things happen to our young people and to our youth simply because of the color of their skin, because they're black. That's not a racist statement. That's a reality statement of the time. This is the time that our young people need to understand. These things happen to you oftentimes because you're black. You can be a male, female, you can be a child, you can be a kid. That's the reason why. And we say that because in the past, we need to explain to our young people, they had laws in this country that was called segregation. There was a law called segregation, which simply means the law of segregation meant that any kind of public accommodation, any kind of public facilities, black people were not allowed to go in those. For example, public restroom, male or female, you were not allowed to go in it. You had to go to, not in the public restroom, you had to go outside somewhere in the back of the building, somewhere in the woods to use the bathroom. That was called segregation. Segregation meant that a public water fountain, you were not able to drink out of a public water fountain. It was for whites only, blacks were not allowed. If you did drink out of it, you could use a cup to drink out of a public water fountain. Once again, we're talking about segregation. These are things that our young people need to understand and need to know that happened in this country. This country had a law to say if you ride any kind of public transportation, you were not allowed to sit in the first 5 or 6 rows. You had to sit in the back of the bus. It could be a city bus. It could be a public bus. Any bus, you had to sit in the back of the bus. That was the law. So we need to explain this to our young people, and they need to understand. So when they are called out of their name, when they are called the N-word, when they are called some derogatory word, that's because this has happened in the past and it is still happening today. I recall you saw not too long ago here in Des Moines where this white lady ran over this Hispanic girl. And when they asked her, she simply said because she was Spanish. When she decided to call some black kids and some derogatory words, she said because they were black. See? So I'm saying these kind of things have happened in the past. And today's time is our young people, so many of them may not know about what has happened in the past, and so they be shocked or they be alarmed when these things happen to them in today's time. In today's time, today's society, we still have the same kind of oppression. We still have the same kind of racism. We still have the same kind of bigotry. We have all of those things that was here before. They are still here today. And we see more of these acts being carried out, just like in the past. Black people, black men, black women, black kids, a child, they could be shot, they could be ran over, they could be beat by a mob, beat by a group, anything. The only difference is back in the day there was no hate crime. When something happened, it just happened. There wasn't no hate crime. Today's time, and you see, prime examples, we need to explain this to our young people. We see even when it's a blatant situation that it is a hate crime, do you not see, like in Georgia, like here in Des Moines with this young brother being attacked, do you not see where either the investigation is not swift enough, is not fast enough, or there's always the possibility where they try to defame. I use the defame. They try to make it seem like that the black person, it could be male or female, it could be a black youth or black child, whatever. They try to make it seem like the reason this happened to this black person because they had a record. They looked suspicious. Some kind of way to defame their character. They go back and find if this person has ever been in trouble before, if they ever did anything, was on probation, they ever got in trouble with the law, was they ever arrested. They go back and try to defame the character of the victim, not the perpetrator, the victim, to make that person look, to discredit that person, to defame his character and make it seem like, well, it was his fault because look at the kind of record he had. Look at the trouble he got into. This is what they do in today's time. And so I'm saying these are things that we need to explain to our youth. It's not being prejudiced, not being racist. It's the reality of the time that we're living in and what our young people know. The other thing I would say too, to the people that catch this video, young people, youth, parents, grandparents, family members, there is no reason for young people to be out late at night. No reason. I know you say you have a right to go, be where you want to be. Yes, you do. That's understandable. But in today's time that we're living in, because of these kind of attacks and the things that are going on, there's a level of oppression that's going on. There's a level of racism that's going on. And so we're saying that young people, black people in general, need to be more conscious and aware of their surroundings. If you're out traveling, if you're out walking, you're in a car, you're traveling, whatever, you need to be aware of your surroundings at all times. It's not being paranoid, no. It's being conscious and being aware. That's what it's called, being conscious, number one. Number two, being aware of your surroundings at all times. If we let our kids, our young people be outside or roaming the streets or going and play at this kid's house and that kid's house, I understand the kids get bored. But you do not want that boredom to lead to where they're out walking around, going through some neighborhoods. And nowadays, these people will shoot you. They may turn their dog loose on you. They may come out in a mob or anything and just attack you. That's the time that we're living in. And once again, these are the kind of things that we need to explain to our young people and to our youth so they can be conscious and aware of these kind of things. And understand this. I'll say it again. This is not a racist statement. It's not based on prejudice or bigotry. It's based on reality. Oftentimes, these things happen to our people simply because of the color of their skin, because they're black. No other reason. You can not want to talk about this or not want to make it real plain, but that's the reality of the time that we are living in. These things are happening simply because of the color of the people's skin, simply because they're black. That's it. No, nothing else attached to it. And we need to explain this to our young people when they ask the question, why are these things happening? You can explain to them that it's happening because they're black. And just like it happened to our people in the past, we are dealing with the same kind of oppression, the same kind of bigotry, the same kind of racism that we did in 1940, 1950, 1960, 1970, even up to 2020. It's the same thing. See, we have to understand that. So I'm saying once again, this is a recording. If you would like to leave some comments, and if you have any questions about any of the things I'm talking about, please leave your comments and questions or whatever, and we'll try, inshallah, we'll try to answer those and get back to those comments or questions. The last thing I want to mention, and this is serious. It doesn't make any difference where you're at, city, what part of the region of the country you are in. This is happening all across the country. We see an upsurge of the police officers murdering black people. This has been going on for quite some time. It ain't just not started. And so it's even been some concern and talk about that so many of these police departments have been infiltrated by these white supremacist groups and white supremacist members, which is not unheard of and unusual, because back in the day, 1940, 1950, so many of the law enforcement people were members of the white supremacist groups. We now know that. And so just like it happened then, do not think that it cannot happen again. Do not think that it's not going on today, because yes, it is. The last thing I want to mention is, and this is real critical, real important that you understand this. Any kind of demonstrations, any kind of protests, any kind of movement that you start, if you're not going to be consistent with keeping the pressure up, keeping the heat on, making it hot in the kitchen, if you're not going to be consistent with that, then don't even start it. Because you cannot protest, demonstrate, have a march just on the weekend and you let the whole week go by. The pressure has got to be applied all the time, 24/7. You got to demand justice all the time, 24/7. It cannot be just to hold a press conference. You do it one time, and you think you're just gonna leave up to the people, law enforcement, or the authorities, and think they're gonna do it. No, it's not gonna work that way. Because if you do, what's gonna happen is, as time go by, slowly but surely, there won't be that much conversation. There won't be that much talk. There won't be that much protest, demonstration. It'll just be forgotten by until there's a reoccurrence of something happen again. So I'm saying once again to all the people out there who are involved in the movement, it has to be on a constant base. It cannot be part-time. This is no part-time job. This is no part-time work. Anybody that involves themselves in the movement is full-time. Full-time all the way, 24/7. There's no rest, no vacation, no days of leave, of absence, none of that. Movement is full-time. That's what it has to be. And if you're not willing to take it on full-time, then don't even start it, don't even get in it. That's what it is. Once again, I want to say, any kind of protest, march, demonstration, whatever, it has to go on all the time. A weekend, you can't let a long period of time lapse and go on where nothing is happening, nothing is being said. You got to make noise, keep noise all the time. All the time. There's got to be some action going on. There's got to be some noise made all the time. Once again, this video, inshallah, is advice to the youth, part 2. And just wanted to kind of go into some other things to get this message out to our young people?